Welcome back to another installment of, no, seriously, what the fuck is happening in Darktide? And right now, even I am taking a step back and saying, wait, no, really, what's happening? Because as of writing this script, February 19th, 2025, Fatshark has several new Vox intercepts unlisted on their channel that we can still access through their Vox playlist. These Voxes are heavy hitters for Darktide's story. The contents of these messages give us some insight into what's been happening to the Wormwood operatives that we've been hearing have been compromised or going missing throughout the course of the game, and it also shows us that the Morning Star may not be as safe as the Warband believes, orbiting high above Atoma Prime. Obey my cat! Hit the subscribe button. Let's get something out of the way first. Yes, these videos are technically unlisted, so presumably Fatshark hasn't been ready to promote them to the community, or maybe forgot to, but they did put them in the Vox Transmissions playlist that is publicly available on their channel. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that if Fatshark didn't want anyone to make content about these Voxes, then they need to be more careful about listing videos and playlists in the future, because come on, how are you gonna dangle this lore carrot right in front of me and not expect me to talk about it? I'll put a link to each Vox intercept video in the description so that you can watch them all for yourselves. I'm not going to play the videos in their entirety here, but we will go into an overview of what's in them, why it's important, and I will play the most important excerpts of them like I normally do with most Vox transmissions. We'll start with Vox Intercept 11, which based on how Fatshark has been numbering these, should be the first. For the first time in more than a year, we hear the same Wormwood operative that gave us updates in the Traitor Curse trailers.
Morningstar, this is Wormwood.
Repeat, this is Wormwood. This is Wormwood calling Morningstar.
Intercept 11 sets up that this Wormwood is now in danger. Poxwalkers and heretics are breaking down her door and she needs to get out.
Repeat, Morningstar, I need urgent support. I am pinned down and surrounded by traitors.
By Intercept 12, it would seem that she's escaped the corner she was backed into and is now holed up in a different location. Wherever she is now, she's encountered the dark tongue graffiti that's been scrawled throughout the Hive City. We get a new interesting piece of information about how the plague has been spreading. These heretical messages haven't just been making people go insane like we see in the cutscene that introduces Rannick. It actually infects people with the walking pox or possibly other supernatural maladies of Nurgle.
The followers of Pestilence have daubed their marks upon the walls and scratched them into doors. If you stare at them too long or try to read them, then know that sickness and corruption will follow.
The way her voice sounds a little more echoey makes me wonder if Wormwood is in the Cathedra Messalina Vengeant, which is the place where the finale of the Dark Communion happens. But that's just completely conjecture on my part. There's really no way to know. Wormwood finds herself once again trapped, cornered by the heretics in a situation that this time she knows she won't survive. In Intercept 13, we hear her say that the situation is like Canopus all over again, but this time there's no Aldiri to help save her.
Tell Grendel I did my best. Tell him it's just like Canopus all over again, but this time there's no way out. No Eldari swoop ship to pull us out of the fire.
This is where things start to get a lot more interesting. First off, she seems to be pretty shaken up that the cult knows her real name.
They know my name, my real name.
Which makes sense because all of the spies in the warband that have spread throughout Tertium all use the call sign Wormwood of different numbers. Knowing her real name and being able to hunt her down no matter where she goes seems to be calling back to the supernatural entity that was hunting down the original Wormwood we were introduced to.
I think they have sent something to find me. I can feel it stalking me, slipping from shadow to shadow, hunting for my hiding place.
As for learning her name, unless this Wormwood spy really fucked up somewhere along the way and did something that would get herself caught, the implication seems to be that she isn't aware of how Admonition would know her name. There's really only a couple ways her name would get discovered in a more quote-unquote supernatural way, and that's if a psyker infiltrated her mind or something much worse. We also seemingly get confirmation that Grendel is the type of inquisitor that will work with alien races because an Aldiri swoop ship is referencing the 40k version of space elves, the Eldar. I'm not going to go into the Eldar today, I'm sorry if that's a downer, but I did think that it was interesting to note because I know that it's been a common community theory as to what's up with this guy. So maybe he is Aldiri. And in that same sentence, Wormwood says that what's happening to her in this Vox is like cannabis all over again. For those of you in the know, there is an established battle for the hive world of cannabis in the Calixis sector during the Horus Heresy. Could Wormwood somehow be referencing this? Probably not, no. Even if this Wormwood spy was Eldar, 10,000 years would still be a fairly unusual age for someone of their species to reach. Not impossible, but definitely unusual. Most likely the reference to cannabis is because it's used and referenced in Dark Heresy, which is the older 40k tabletop role-playing game system. Fatshark has a history with leaning on materials from these older sources, like the Uberstrike adventures from the Warhammer Fantasy TTRPG, heavily inspiring Vermintide. Alright, next box!
So, nothing?
Nothing at all, sire.
We leave our Wormwood operative behind and in Vox Intercept 14 go to Sire Melk and a staff member on board the Morningstar, discussing how they have not received any communications from any of the Wormwood operatives in Tertium. Fatshark may have debunked my scrap code attack theory a bit here, because when going over what systems they've checked to make sure communications aren't being artificially stopped, it said,
I've also run a system audit for scrap code and checked the alignment of the main arrays.
If there was something wrong with the arrays, we would have lost contact with surface operations.
That was my logic, sire, but I checked anyway.
So realistically, there shouldn't be anything preventing Wormwood agents from checking in, and yet, every single one has gone silent. Melk is disturbed by this, saying that it can only mean one of two things. All Wormwood agents are already dead, or they're all in hiding. And if they're all in hiding, what has them so scared that they're all laying low and refusing to check in for their scheduled communications? It could be that they're all being systematically hunted down. Throughout Darktide in many levels, you can encounter dead loyalists scattered across Tertium. Some have been there since the beginning, and others have been added into the game in later patches. Now let me say right now, I don't think all of these dead bodies are Wormwood operatives. I think an Ogren would probably not be the best fit for a spy that can slip under the radar unnoticed. But many of these dead bodies with loyalist belt buckles and other details are found in areas where there has been heavy cult activity, especially the Carnival District. There's these bodies that you can find in a side room before you go upstairs after completing the Auspex scanning in the Carnival Part 2 mission. These bodies tucked away in a makeshift camping spot outdoors in the Carnival. They're everywhere. The fact that they're being added in over time to mission environments as well fits with the narrative that the warband is losing more operatives over time, and most likely they're being sniffed out and eradicated by the cult. But are they all just being killed? Vox Intercept 15 has a Wormwood operative finally calling into the Morningstar, but something is obviously amiss.
I am a Wormwood agent. I can be trusted. Where are you?
This Wormwood spy can't give any of the secure information the warband uses to confirm identity of incoming transmissions, and instead just keeps insisting they're a trustworthy operative. Totally on the level. Sire Melk catches wind of what's happening and intervenes.
Where are you, Morning?
Shut it down. Another 10 seconds and they'd have tracked our orbital position.
This is a concerning interaction. I don't know about all of you, but a Wormwood agent calling in and just trying to get by with a "trust me bro" is suspicious as hell. A disturbing question reinforced by what we hear the Wormwood spy report when she's finally cornered by admonition before dying is that, are Wormwood agents just being outright killed, or are their minds being compromised and probed for information by either powerful psychers or a malevolent entity? This is a particularly sinister intercept because whether this is a traitor or cultist pretending to be an operative or an actual Wormwood agent who has been compromised, someone on the enemy side is clearly trying to triangulate the Morningstar's specific location. Brahms and the crew seem to have no qualms with destroying ships that approach them with impunity, but there's always the possibility that the heretics may try to launch a surprise attack on their base of operations. The last Vox intercept is number 16, and it is significantly different from the others.
This is the beginning and the end. Prepare to greet the gods you have longed for.
I don't know what the rest of you guys think, but this voice performing the chant sounded an awful lot like the Wormwood agent from the earlier intercepts in this Grim Protocol series to me.
The darkness arises. The darkness arises.
They are vital signs. Just symbols, just crude marks. But I warn you now, do not look at them.
I was really on the fence if I thought that this was the same voice or not, and even if it is the same voice, it may just be the same voice actor who performed them, but not intended to be the same character. And then of course, just to throw another layer of complication into the mix, let's also pose the question, is this voice in the Darkness Arises intercept the same as the mysterious voice we hear throughout the Dark Communion mission?
Prepare the sacrifices as you have been taught.
The sound of the make your admonition. Make the signs of the grave. Sweep clean the place where you rest his head.
Here's my 2 cents, and this could be incorrect, but ultimately I don't think the voices of the Wormwood operative and the Darkness Arises chanter are the same. Instead, I do think the Darkness Arises voice is the same mysterious voice we hear in the Dark Communion, just with a very different style of delivery and intensity. I even went to IMDb for like the millionth time for Darktide and tried to see if any of the characters were listed so I could take a peek at their actors, but there's no Wormwood operatives listed as characters, much less mysterious voices or cultists. Helpful. So unfortunately, ultimately, I can't even point to casting information to see if we can get any clarification. I am really curious to get your guys' thoughts on this. Do you think any of these voices are the same or intended to be the same character? Whatever the case, the fact that all Wormwood agents may all be dead or at least maintaining silence is a big red flag that something terrible is happening on the surface that we possibly still don't even know about. I know I theorized admonition is summoning a great unclean one in the Dark Communion finale, and the Darkness Arises chant isn't just a resurrection, it's part of a summoning ritual that would bind the soul of a greater demon into Rodin Karnak's body. It's hard to imagine any heretical activities worse than that, at least in the scope of Darktide, but the fact that Admonition is actively trying to find out exactly where the Morning Star is begs the question, will the fight eventually come to the warband? All we can do for now is wait for more content in Darktide itself, watch for Vox updates, and work together to try and piece together the puzzle of, no, seriously, what the fuck is happening in Darktide? I really hope I didn't kick the hornet's nest with this one. I'm not sure if Fatshark is gonna get mad at me for telling everyone their unlisted videos are on YouTube and that you just have to go to a public playlist to find them. Just in case they make me take this one down, consider joining the Patreon or channel membership so that I can make sure this fuzzy little dude keeps a supply line of fancy feast to his face. Oh, and also supporters get access to members only sections of the Discord where we talk about what's going on in Darktide, exclusive videos, early access to videos, and I also let members know when I'll be playing off stream so that I can crawl through the game looking for lore. Until next time, keep purging heretical filth, and I'll see you out there against the Darktide. Thanks so much to my amazing supporters as always, Leah S. and Ben over on Patreon, and Dr. Dead Inside, John Brash, The Communist Crusader, Vadrazil, Zombie Bros, Meblarg, Taro, Don Pepone, Macrove, Big Guy, and Daniel Gerber. You guys are amazing. I couldn't do this without you.